Chapter 1: The Humble Shepherd. In a picturesque village nestled between verdant hills and sprawling meadows, there lived a young man named Marcus. With hair as golden as the sun's rays and eyes as clear as the azure sky, Marcus was a beacon of warmth and kindness in his community. From the earliest dawn to the fading twilight, he could be found tending to his flock of sheep, guiding them through the lush pastures with a gentle hand and a watchful eye. Marcus had inherited his trade from his father, who had taught him the ways of shepherding from a tender age. With each passing day, he grew more adept at understanding the needs and nuances of his woolly charges, leading them to the richest patches of grass and ensuring their safety from prowling predators. Despite the simplicity of his life, Marcus harbored a quiet wisdom that belied his years. He had a keen intuition and a knack for solving problems that earned him the respect and admiration of his fellow villagers. Whether it was mediating disputes between neighbors or offering sage advice to those in need, Marcus was always ready to lend a helping hand, with a warm smile and an open heart. But Marcus's greatest gift was his ability to find joy and beauty in the small wonders of everyday life. As he wandered the hills with his flock, he would pause to marvel at the delicate dance of a butterfly or the sweet melody of a bird's song. He found solace in the rhythm of nature, drawing inspiration from its endless cycle of growth and renewal. Yet, despite his contentment, Marcus couldn't help but feel a stirring within his soul, a yearning for something beyond the familiar confines of his village. Deep down, he knew that there was a world waiting to be explored, filled with wonders and adventures beyond his wildest dreams. And so, with each passing day, his curiosity grew, fueling a desire to embark on a journey that would lead him to places unknown. But for now, Marcus was content to bask in the simple pleasures of his pastoral existence. With each sunrise, he greeted the dawn with a sense of gratitude and wonder, knowing that each new day held the promise of discovery and adventure. And as he tended to his flock with care and devotion, he knew that no matter where his journey took him, he would always carry with him the lessons he had learned as a humble shepherd. Chapter 2: The Encounter with the Wise Old Man. On a warm summer afternoon, as Marcus led his flock to graze in the verdant fields, he stumbled upon a scene that would alter the course of his destiny. Beneath the spreading branches of a majestic oak tree, there sat a figure bathed in the golden light of the sun, a wise old man, his face weathered by time and his eyes twinkling with the spark of ancient wisdom. Intrigued by the sight, Marcus approached the old man with cautious curiosity, his heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. As he drew nearer, he felt a sense of peace wash over him, as if he had known this stranger for a lifetime. "Good day, young shepherd," the old man greeted him with a warm smile, his voice as gentle as a summer breeze. "What brings you to this quiet corner of the world?" Marcus returned the smile, feeling an instant connection with the stranger. "I was tending to my flock when I saw you sitting here," he replied. "I couldn't help but wonder what wisdom you might have to share." The old man chuckled softly, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "Ah, wisdom is a rare treasure indeed, my young friend. But it is one that can be found in the most unexpected of places." And with that cryptic remark, the old man launched into a tale that spanned the ages, a tale of distant lands and forgotten kingdoms, of heroes and villains, of love and betrayal. As Marcus listened with rapt attention, he felt himself being drawn into a world of magic and mystery, where anything was possible. But it was not just the story itself that captivated Marcus, it was the wisdom woven into its fabric, the timeless truths that resonated with his soul. With each word spoken by the old man, Marcus felt a stirring within him, a hunger for knowledge and understanding that burned brighter with each passing moment. And so, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the stars began to twinkle in the velvet sky, Marcus found himself sitting at the feet of the wise old man, his heart filled with a newfound sense of purpose. For he knew that this chance encounter was no mere coincidence, it was the beginning of a journey that would lead him to the very depths of his own soul and beyond. Chapter 3: The Secret of the Crown. As Marcus sat beneath the ancient oak tree, listening intently to the tales spun by the wise old man, he found himself drawn deeper into the web of mystery and intrigue that surrounded him. With each passing moment, he felt a sense of wonder and awe wash over him, as if he were being initiated into a sacred brotherhood of knowledge and wisdom. But amidst the tapestry of stories and legends, there was one tale that stood out above all others, a tale whispered in hushed tones, passed down through the ages like a precious heirloom. It was the story of the kingdom, a realm ruled by a wise and just king, yet teetering on the brink of collapse. For you see, the king had grown old and weary, his once mighty kingdom now plagued by corruption and greed. And though he longed to see his realm restored to its former glory, he knew that the task would require a leader of unparalleled wisdom and cunning, a leader who could navigate the treacherous waters of politics and power with skill and grace. And so, the king issued a decree, a challenge to all who would dare to claim the throne. He proclaimed that only the wisest and most cunning individual could ascend to the throne, and that they must prove their worthiness through a series of trials and tribulations. As Marcus listened to the old man's words, a fire ignited within him, a burning desire to prove himself worthy of the challenge laid before him. For he knew that deep down, he possessed the qualities needed to become a great leader, a leader who could inspire hope and bring about change in a world plagued by darkness and despair. And so, with a renewed sense of purpose, Marcus vowed to embark on a journey that would lead him to the very heart of the kingdom, where he would face his destiny head-on and claim the crown that was rightfully his. Little did he know that his journey would be filled with danger and intrigue, leading him down a path fraught with peril and uncertainty. But one thing was certain, Marcus was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, armed with nothing but his wits and his courage. For he knew that true greatness lay not in the destination, but in the journey itself, a journey that would test his mettle and forge him into the leader he was destined to become. Chapter 4: The Journey Begins. With the secret of the kingdom's crown weighing heavy on his mind, Marcus bid farewell to the wise old man and set out on his journey, his heart brimming with determination and his spirit ablaze with the promise of adventure. As he traversed the rugged terrain that lay before him, he could feel the pulse of the land beneath his feet, guiding him ever onward toward his destiny. The path ahead was fraught with uncertainty, yet Marcus faced each challenge with a courage born of conviction. Along the way, he encountered a myriad of obstacles, a raging river to ford, a dense forest teeming with wild beasts, and towering mountains that seemed to scrape the very heavens themselves. Yet, with each trial he faced, Marcus grew stronger, his resolve unyielding in the face of adversity. But it was not just the physical challenges that tested Marcus on his journey, it was the inner demons that lurked within his own heart, whispering doubts and fears into his ear like sinister shadows. For you see, Marcus was not immune to the doubts and insecurities that plagued all mortals, and there were moments when he questioned whether he was truly worthy of the crown he sought. Yet, with each passing day, Marcus found solace in the memories of the wise old man's words, which echoed in his mind like a guiding light in the darkness. He remembered the old man's tales of courage and sacrifice, of heroes who had faced insurmountable odds and emerged victorious against all odds. And though the road ahead was long and arduous, Marcus knew that he must press onward, for he carried with him the hopes and dreams of an entire kingdom. As the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, Marcus journeyed ever deeper into the heart of the kingdom, his spirit undaunted by the trials that lay ahead. Along the way, he encountered a host of colorful characters, humble peasants and noble knights, wise sages and cunning rogues, who shared with him their wisdom and their tales of adventure. And with each passing encounter, Marcus grew wiser, his mind expanding like a vast tapestry of knowledge woven from the threads of experience. He learned the art of diplomacy from a wizened elder who taught him that sometimes the greatest battles are won not with swords, but with words. He learned the value of humility from a lowly farmer who showed him that true greatness lies not in the trappings of wealth and power, but in the simple acts of kindness and compassion. But perhaps most importantly, Marcus learned the true meaning of courage, a courage that could only be found within the depths of his own heart. For he knew that the journey ahead would be fraught with peril and uncertainty, yet he faced it with a steadfast resolve, knowing that the fate of the kingdom rested in his hands. And so, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the stars began to twinkle in the velvet sky, Marcus pressed onward, his eyes fixed on the distant horizon, where the promise of a new dawn awaited. For he knew that the journey had only just begun, and that the greatest challenges still lay ahead, waiting to test his mettle and forge him into the leader he was destined to become. Chapter 5: The Trial of the Three Tasks. After many days of travel through the rugged landscapes and bustling towns of the kingdom, Marcus finally arrived at the grand gates of the royal palace. With each step he took across the polished marble courtyard, his heart pounded with anticipation, for he knew that the true test of his worthiness to claim the crown awaited him within those hallowed halls. As he stood before the imposing doors of the throne room, Marcus felt a surge of adrenaline course through his veins, his mind racing with thoughts of the challenges that lay ahead. For he had heard whispers of the king's decree, the decree that proclaimed that only the wisest and most cunning individual could ascend to the throne, and that they must prove their worthiness through a series of trials and tribulations. With a deep breath, Marcus pushed open the doors and stepped into the grand chamber beyond, where the king sat upon his throne, flanked by his courtiers and advisers. With a voice that boomed like thunder, the king addressed Marcus, his eyes piercing like daggers as he spoke. "Welcome, young shepherd," the king intoned, his voice echoing off the walls of the chamber. "You have come seeking the crown that rests upon my brow, but know this, the path to kingship is fraught with peril, and only the bravest and most cunning among you will succeed." And with that ominous warning, the king laid out the challenge that Marcus must face, the trial of the three tasks. These tasks were designed to test not only his intellect and cunning, but also his courage and resourcefulness, for only those who proved themselves worthy would be deemed fit to rule. The first task was a test of wit and wisdom, a riddle that had confounded even the most learned scholars of the kingdom. With a furrowed brow, Marcus pondered the riddle long and hard, his mind racing with possibilities. And then, with a flash of insight, he solved the riddle, much to the amazement of the king and his courtiers. The second task was a test of strength and skill, a challenge that required Marcus to best a fearsome opponent in single combat. With muscles tense and sword drawn, Marcus faced his adversary with steely resolve, his every move calculated and precise. And though the battle raged on for what seemed like an eternity, Marcus emerged victorious, his sword held high in triumph. But it was the third and final task that proved to be the most daunting of all, a test of character and integrity that would push Marcus to the very limits of his endurance. For he was tasked with making a choice that would determine the fate of the kingdom, a choice between personal gain and selflessness, between ambition and altruism. With a heavy heart, Marcus weighed his options, knowing that the fate of the kingdom rested in his hands. And in the end, he chose the path of righteousness, sacrificing his own desires for the greater good of his people. And as he stood before the king and his court, his heart filled with pride and determination, Marcus knew that he had passed the trial of the 3 tasks with flying colors. And so, with a solemn nod of approval, the king bestowed upon Marcus the crown that he had so rightfully earned, declaring him the true ruler of the kingdom. And as Marcus donned the crown upon his golden locks, a wave of jubilation swept through the chamber, for the people knew that their new king was a man of wisdom, courage, and compassion, a man who would lead them to a brighter future, filled with hope and promise. Chapter 6: The Betrayal. As Marcus ascended to the throne, his heart swelled with pride and his mind buzzed with plans for the betterment of the kingdom. He was determined to rule with fairness and justice, to mend the wounds of the past and usher in a new era of prosperity for his people. Little did he know, however, that lurking in the shadows of the court were those who sought to undermine his reign and thwart his noble ambitions. Among the courtiers and advisers who had once hailed him as their king, there were whispers of jealousy and resentment, fueled by the fear of change and the thirst for power. These dark forces conspired behind closed doors, weaving webs of deceit and treachery with the aim of toppling Marcus from his rightful place on the throne. At first, Marcus was oblivious to the brewing storm that threatened to engulf him, too consumed by the weight of his newfound responsibilities to heed the warning signs. But as whispers turned to murmurs and murmurs to shouts, he could no longer ignore the growing unrest that simmered beneath the surface of the court. It was on a moonlit night, as Marcus sat alone in the throne room, poring over scrolls and documents, that he first caught wind of the plot against him. A loyal servant, his face pale with fear, approached him with news of a conspiracy that aimed to strip him of his crown and cast him out into the wilderness like a common criminal. With a heavy heart, Marcus realized that he could no longer afford to be naive or complacent. He knew that he must act swiftly and decisively to root out the traitors in his midst and protect the kingdom from the threat that loomed on the horizon. And so, with a steely resolve, Marcus set out to uncover the truth, employing all the cunning and resourcefulness that had served him so well in the past. He sifted through layers of deceit and deception, following a trail of breadcrumbs that led him ever closer to the heart of the conspiracy. But the road ahead was fraught with danger, and Marcus soon found himself ensnared in a deadly game of cat and mouse, with his adversaries lurking in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Yet, despite the odds stacked against him, Marcus refused to back down, his determination unyielding in the face of adversity. And then, just when it seemed that all hope was lost, Marcus uncovered the truth of the betrayal that had threatened to tear the kingdom apart at its very seams. With evidence in hand, he confronted the traitors with a courage born of righteousness, exposing their nefarious schemes for all to see. The court erupted into chaos as the traitors were brought to justice, their masks of deceit shattered by the light of truth. And as Marcus stood before the assembled nobles and commoners, his gaze steady and his voice unwavering, he vowed to protect the kingdom from all who would seek to do it harm, no matter the cost. And though the road ahead would be long and fraught with peril, Marcus knew that as long as he remained true to himself and to the principles of justice and integrity that guided him, he would prevail. For he was not just a king, he was a shepherd of his people, leading them through the darkness into the light, where hope and freedom awaited. Chapter 7: The Coronation. With the traitors exposed and the kingdom safe once more, Marcus stood on the precipice of a new era, a time of renewal and rebirth, where the promise of a brighter future beckoned like a beacon on the horizon. And as the sun rose on the day of his coronation, casting its golden rays across the land, Marcus felt a sense of anticipation and excitement course through his veins, for he knew that the moment he had been waiting for had finally arrived. The grand hall of the royal palace was abuzz with activity as nobles and dignitaries from across the realm gathered to bear witness to the historic event. The air was thick with the scent of incense and the sound of trumpets, mingling with the murmurs of the crowd like a symphony of anticipation. As Marcus stood before the assembled throng, resplendent in his royal regalia, he felt a swell of emotion wash over him, a mixture of pride, humility, and awe. For he knew that the crown that now rested upon his head was not just a symbol of his authority, but a sacred trust, a trust bestowed upon him by the people he had sworn to serve and protect. With a solemn nod from the high priest, the ceremony began, a solemn ritual steeped in tradition and symbolism. Marcus knelt before the altar, his hands clasped in prayer as the priest invoked the blessings of the gods upon him, asking for wisdom, courage, and strength to guide him in the days ahead. And then, with a flourish of trumpets and the chanting of hymns, Marcus rose to his feet, his heart pounding with excitement as he prepared to take his rightful place upon the throne. With a steady hand, he grasped the scepter and the orb, the symbols of his authority, and lifted them high for all to see, a gesture of his commitment to rule with fairness and justice. And as the crown was placed upon his head, Marcus felt a surge of energy course through him, as if he had been infused with the very essence of kingship itself. For in that moment, he knew that he was no longer just a shepherd, he was a king, bound by duty and honor to lead his people with wisdom and compassion. The crowd erupted into cheers and applause as Marcus ascended the throne, his face radiant with joy and humility. And as he surveyed the sea of faces before him, the faces of his subjects, his friends, and his allies, he felt a profound sense of gratitude wash over him, knowing that he was not alone in his journey, but surrounded by those who believed in him and supported him every step of the way. And so, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the stars began to twinkle in the velvet sky, Marcus took his place as the rightful ruler of the kingdom, ready to face the challenges and triumphs that lay ahead with courage and determination. For he knew that the road to greatness was long and winding, but with the love and support of his people, he would lead them to a future filled with hope, prosperity, and peace. Chapter 8: The Reign of Justice. With the weight of the crown upon his head and the scepter of authority in his hand, Marcus embarked on his reign with a steadfast commitment to justice and fairness. He knew that the road ahead would be fraught with challenges and obstacles, but he was determined to lead his kingdom with integrity and compassion, guided by the principles of righteousness that had shaped his journey thus far. From the moment he ascended to the throne, Marcus set about implementing sweeping reforms aimed at rooting out corruption and restoring faith in the institutions of governance. He appointed trusted advisors and counselors who shared his vision for a better future, surrounding himself with individuals of unwavering integrity and moral character. Under Marcus's wise and benevolent leadership, the kingdom flourished as never before. He enacted laws to protect the rights of the downtrodden and the oppressed, ensuring that justice was served without fear or favor. He invested in education and infrastructure, laying the foundation for a prosperous future for generations to come. But perhaps most importantly, Marcus ruled with a compassionate heart, never forgetting the struggles of those less fortunate than himself. He walked among his people, listening to their hopes and fears, their dreams and aspirations, and he did everything in his power to uplift and empower them, knowing that the strength of the kingdom lay in the resilience and spirit of its citizens. Throughout his reign, Marcus faced many challenges and adversaries, from rival kingdoms seeking to undermine his authority to internal dissent and rebellion. Yet, with wisdom and foresight, he navigated each crisis with grace and poise, never losing sight of his ultimate goal, to create a kingdom where justice reigned supreme and all were treated with dignity and respect. And though there were moments of darkness and despair, when it seemed that all hope was lost, Marcus always remained steadfast in his belief that the light of righteousness would ultimately prevail. For he knew that true greatness lay not in the accumulation of power or wealth, but in the ability to make a positive difference in the lives of others. As the years passed and Marcus's reign continued, his legacy grew ever greater, revered by his subjects as a paragon of virtue and wisdom. And though his time on the throne would eventually come to an end, his legacy endured, a shining beacon of hope and inspiration for future generations to follow. For Marcus was not just a king, he was a shepherd of his people, guiding them through the trials and tribulations of life with compassion and grace. And though his journey had been long and arduous, he had emerged victorious, leaving behind a kingdom transformed by his unwavering commitment to justice and righteousness. Chapter 9: The Legacy Endures. As Marcus's reign drew to a close, the kingdom stood as a testament to his unwavering dedication to justice, compassion, and integrity. His years on the throne had been marked by prosperity, peace, and prosperity, and his subjects looked back on his rule with fondness and admiration. But even as Marcus passed the crown to his successor and retreated from the spotlight of public life, his legacy continued to reverberate throughout the kingdom like ripples on a pond. For Marcus was not just a king, he was a symbol of hope, a beacon of light in a world darkened by uncertainty and turmoil. In the years that followed, tales of Marcus's wisdom and benevolence spread far and wide, carried on the lips of bards and storytellers who wandered from village to village, spreading his legend like wildfire. His name became synonymous with justice and righteousness, a shining example for future rulers and leaders to emulate. But perhaps Marcus's greatest legacy was the impact he had on the hearts and minds of his people. For he had taught them not just to follow, but to lead, to stand up for what they believed in, to fight for justice and equality, and to never lose sight of the values that defined them as a society. Under Marcus's guidance, the kingdom had flourished, its citizens united in purpose and vision, working together to build a better future for themselves and their children. And though Marcus had long since passed into legend, his spirit lived on in the hearts of those who had been touched by his grace and wisdom. But the legacy of Marcus was not confined to the borders of his kingdom alone. His story spread far and wide, inspiring countless others to strive for greatness in their own lives. From distant lands across the sea to the humblest villages nestled in the hills, people looked to Marcus as a source of inspiration and guidance, a reminder that even the most humble among us can achieve greatness if we dare to dream and believe in ourselves. And so, as the years turned into decades and the decades into centuries, Marcus's legacy endured, a timeless testament to the power of courage, compassion, and integrity. For though he may have been just a shepherd who became a king, Marcus had left an indelible mark on the world, a mark that would never fade, but endure for all eternity. Epilogue: The moral of the story. As the tale of Marcus, the shepherd who cleverly became a king, draws to a close, there remains a timeless moral that resonates with readers of all ages. Throughout Marcus's journey, from his humble beginnings as a shepherd to his ascension to the throne, there are valuable lessons to be gleaned, lessons that transcend the boundaries of time and place, and speak to the very essence of what it means to live a life of purpose and meaning. First and foremost, the story of Marcus teaches us the importance of perseverance and determination in the face of adversity. Despite the many challenges and obstacles that he encountered along the way, Marcus never wavered in his commitment to his goals. He faced each trial with courage and resilience, knowing that true greatness lies not in the absence of obstacles, but in the ability to overcome them. Secondly, Marcus's journey underscores the importance of humility and compassion in leadership. Despite his newfound status as king, Marcus never forgot his roots as a humble shepherd, nor did he lose sight of the struggles of those less fortunate than himself. He ruled with empathy and understanding, always putting the needs of his people first, and in doing so, earned their respect and admiration. Moreover, Marcus's story reminds us of the power of wisdom and integrity in guiding our actions and decisions. Throughout his reign, he remained true to his principles, never compromising his values or sacrificing his integrity for personal gain. He sought counsel from those wiser than himself, listened to the voices of his people, and ruled with fairness and justice, knowing that true greatness lies not in the accumulation of power or wealth, but in the ability to make a positive difference in the lives of others. Finally, the story of Marcus serves as a reminder that greatness can be found in the most unexpected of places. Marcus began his journey as a humble shepherd, with no aspirations for power or glory, yet through his courage, determination, and unwavering commitment to his principles, he achieved feats that surpassed even his wildest dreams. His story is a testament to the potential that lies within each of us, waiting to be unleashed if only we have the courage to chase our dreams and believe in ourselves. In conclusion, the tale of Marcus, the shepherd who became king, is a timeless parable of hope, resilience, and the transformative power of courage and compassion. It teaches us that no matter our background or circumstances, we have the ability to rise above our limitations and achieve greatness, if only we have the courage to pursue our dreams with unwavering determination and integrity. And in a world filled with darkness and uncertainty, Marcus's story serves as a beacon of light, guiding us toward a brighter future filled with hope, promise, and endless possibility.